Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay, and I'm a Bravoholic.
You're preaching to the choir. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Honey, you have to stop saying that.
Welcome back to Bravoholics Anonymous. I'm Lindsay, and I'm coming in hot today. I just saw Dorit, a clip of Dorit on TikTok, walking the carpet at the People's Choice Awards in this little black dress, and my God, she looks incredible. I can't believe the time we're alive. These women, that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s are hotter than ever before. And Dorit is no exception. She looks banging in this black dress. And if anyone's winning this, in the court of public opinion, in the court of who is leaving this marriage with the most potential for the future, it is by far Dorit. PK's broke and he's, drowning his sorrows in expensive hotel bills and walking around talking crap about my girl Dorit, and she's walking red carpets looking like a supermodel. So line up, billionaires, because I don't think Dorit is going to be on the market long, and I think she's going to get a major upgrade because she's showing a great face on the show and she's rocking it. She's looking so good. I feel like Ariana started this whole revenge body Bravo thing. Lindsay Hubbard tried to be in the same ballpark, but Dorit has picked up the torch and she is looking so good. Well, I did catch up on a lot of Watch What Happens Live episodes, and there are two things I wanted to talk about for sure. One, Taylor and TJ were on Watch What Happens Live, maybe a week and a half ago, and Taylor, a wet mop is more exciting than Taylor, and I get it. That's she wouldn't have even made reality TV if she wasn't with Shep and tolerating Shep's crap for so long. But to bring her on Watch What Happens Live and want hot takes from her, and she shows up with not just her mom, but with Gaston's mom. A weird choice. If it's giving, I don't have any friends to come to New York and party with me, or I don't have any friends on other Bravo shows to come sit in the audience. I feel like a lot of these Bravo celebrities, they'll go on Watch What Happens, and then a bunch of them will meet up for drinks after, and they'll go to some bar in the city. We see pictures of it all the time. Or we hear gossip about what happened after the last one, the next time they're on Watch What Happens. And I just think that it's cute and it's wholesome for Taylor to show up with her mom and I guess what she's hoping as her future mother-in-law. But because of all the controversy about Gaston on the show, it's just kind of weird to have his mom sitting there and to have Andy fielding questions to you about your relationship and about how it's going and if there's truth to any of these rumors of him cheating or of what he did to, not Molly. What's the other girl's name on Southern Charm this season? You should probably know her name, but I'm spacing on it. Anyway, another thing, of course, we all saw probably every clip of Craig on Watch What Happens Live addressing all the Paige stuff. And I think, he addressed the stuff about lying on the show last time he was on about him and Paige's relationship. And I do think he was, doing press for his show and he didn't want to address the truth and the reality of their breakup. But I do think it was a little revealing that they broke up over text and not at least a call. I know they're doing distance, so it was probably going to be over the phone, but maybe saving it for in person would have been better. But there's three sides to every story. And if I had to pick out of Paige's side and Craig's side, who I'm believing, I'm leaning towards Paige. Craig, not only do we know he's a pathological liar, but he's so emotional, just like all of these men on Bravo. So emotional, so moody, and he is just petty. He's petty, petty, petty. And we saw it when he broke up with Naomi on the show and at the reunion said all these horrible things about her. I don't think it's necessary that he step out and speak on behalf of Paige and say she wasn't cheating on him, because feeding into those Reddit rumors is just going to bring more attention to it. But I think he could have phrased it that way when he was asked why he didn't speak out, instead of saying, oh, I'm the ex-boyfriend now. Like, I'm not going to come in and save her. Which is basically what he was saying between the lines. He really said, like, I'm the ex-boyfriend now. So, like, I'm not going to come in and talk about what she's doing and not doing. Like, it's just, he's showing his lack of growth. I don't think he had to step out and say anything about her, but I think he could have, like, in a much more mature way, articulated why he didn't feel a need to, like, fuel the flame of these rumors. I just finished watching the new episode of Summer House, our season 9 premiere, and at the end I see Paige, you know, in coming up this season, I see Paige saying that she caught Craig texting 2 women during their relationship. And I mean, maybe Craig doesn't want to talk about cheating between them because there was some emotional cheating on his part. Or maybe Paige is now just getting back at Craig, and these are pickup scenes that they just shot recently in the midst of all this. Because I'm sure they picked up cameras to get coverage of Paige. Since Scandival, they've been doing that. You know, if something big is going down, get the camera crew there, and rightfully so, because these reality TV camera crews are cheap. And Bravo shouldn't be missing any of that prime content. And those stars should be capitalizing, even if it is the off season, on their breakups and their relationships. So anyway, I thought Craig, you know, looked like a salty little wet mop. Taylor looked ridiculous answering questions about Gaston and that in front of the mothers. And it was just like, it's weird. People make weird choices. And yeah. With that, maybe I'll just jump right into the Summer House premiere. You know, I'm so excited to have the show back. Last week I did the recap and just ran through the characters and how I felt about each character. And I'm not going to go like scene by scene like a lot of these Bravo podcasts do. But I will give like my hot takes and my thoughts while watching the show. Especially if I think it's going to lead to, you know, what's going to happen throughout the season, or, you know, if I'm just like angry at Wes, which will probably be like a lot of this season. But I loved that they decided to start off with Paige and Sierra in the car, and Sierra talking about how she's not mad, but she is going to leave her dick on the table at some point about it all. And we know Sierra's hurt. We can still see it. And rightfully so, because Wes did the ultimate fuckboy thing, and Sierra knew it. Her gut knew he was going to do it, but he was just so charming and cute, and he scratched this like hometown itch of hers because she grew up in nature and doing the outdoorsy stuff, and now he lives the city life and is social. And I think he painted this picture of being the perfect person, which I'm sure he does for everybody. And she was like, I'm scared of like, you know, I don't just sleep around with people. I date with intention and blah, blah, blah. And like, he basically was a dog with stamina. And he was a dog that didn't just chase the car down the street, but he chased the car through the neighborhood barking and did it every day for a month until he caught the car. And then he didn't give a fuck about it. So poor Sierra, I feel for her. And I'm not going to forget, no matter how charming Wes is, no matter how many suitcases he lugs in the house, I'm not going to forget what he did to our supermodel. And honestly, like, Sierra's a catch. And even if she wasn't like super stimulating and he wants that banter or whatever, we know he doesn't want any of that. He's just into like banging the Bravo fans when they find him at the bar. So I love that we see them. I love that Sierra's still pissed, and we're going to get a summer of her probably like being petty about it. And see, this is a different type of petty than the Craig petty that I was just talking about, because it's like, I don't know, we're rooting for the girl. Come on. And Wes did everything wrong, so we're in the right here. Then we see, you know, the boys, our new boys here, Wes and Jesse, who are great additions to the show. I mean, they're great because before it was just Kyle and Carl taking a lot of heat all the time, and now these guys are going to have the potential to get into trouble and take their own heat, kind of disperses it all. I think that's why they've kind of secured themselves as mainstays on the show. And they show up and they want to pick any room. The first 2 straight dudes in the house get to choose any room, okay? And I think it's incredibly telling what they pick. So Jesse wants his own room. And that, you know, he's going to be trying to hook up. He's going to be trying to meet girls. That makes sense. And then Wes is like, oh, you don't want to room together? And that told me everything I needed to know about Wes's position entering the house. One, he's not planning on going and hooking up with a bunch of girls. It feels almost like when a woman wears like her worst pair of underwear on a date because she does not plan to show anything under her clothes to her date. You know, it's like her fail-proof safety plan. I know women do that, or I've seen it in rom-coms before. And it's like, I know this is like what Wes is doing. If he can band together with Jesse, maybe there's like one level of limitation that stops him from being a dog too early and hooking up with someone. And also, he's feeling wildly insecure and needs a security blanket. He wants to be coming into the room with Jesse at the end of the night to get the tea on what people are saying about him, where things are at. He wants to still have a storyline and talk to Jesse about what's going on, but so he doesn't want to like isolate himself in his own room. It's pretty clever. It's well thought out. I mean, Wes is smart. I think but I do think this choice of the room thing is telling. And I do think he's playing into Jesse. And, you know, Jesse's kind of a softie and is like, you know, oh, I'm kind of hurt. And then goes wheeling down the hallway. And then Jesse, of course, chases him. He's like, you want to room together? We can room together. And so they end up doing that. Then we have some of the new cast come in. We have Lexi come in and she's gorgeous. As I was watching this, I went on TikTok just to see what I could find about Lexi. And honestly, TikTok is weighed in and she's supposedly really nice. People that have worked with her in Toronto have said great things about her, how sweet she is, how beautiful she is. I love that she's Canadian. We're excited to have her. Did I feel bad when they greeted her with, oh my God, you're pretty? And then they hug the other girl who I think I had to wait like 12 minutes to get her name, Bailey, who's also very pretty, but like was not greeted with such enthusiasm from Jesse or Wes. So that I felt bad for her a little bit, but also I was like, girl, you don't want their compliments. Run, Bailey, run. At some point we get Sierra and Paige coming in the house. They're all saying hi. Wes gives his little like, I don't want to call him a pussy boy because I'm trying to stop using the word pussy as like an insult because they're strong and they're amazing. They have babies, whatever. He's being a chode. Okay, Wes is being a chode and he's like, oh, I'll wait and say hi last. And then Sierra kind of swats him away. And I loved it. And I hope she swats him away all summer. And I hope she makes him feel small all summer. And maybe just never stops. Maybe that's like a thing they do every single summer. I could be behind that. So they all meet and they all say hi. And Wes is like scared and embarrassed and red. And he's wearing his oversized stupid clothes and his stupid cowboy hat. And like, just fast forward now to Traitors, the next segment, if you aren't into me shitting on Wes, because I'm probably going to shit on Wes a lot. Also, so happy that Gabby is back. I love Gabby, and I am really hoping that this season, Gabby doesn't just play second fiddle to like Lindsay's storylines. I can already see in this episode that she's playing supporting cast to Lindsay, and I just really hope that like Gabby can step outside herself and have her own like main character storyline, her own moment, something exciting going on with Gabby. We saw in past seasons when she like tried to date and it like wasn't going well. And she's such a Taurus and I love Tauruses. So I'm rooting for Gabby to have like something going on with herself this season as opposed to just being a talking head to Lindsay Hubbard venting about Carl or something, because you know that's coming. Then we see a flashback of Lindsay and Carl in the kitchen fighting last season. It hits me. I don't want to see either of them talk this summer. I don't want, not just to each other, but like, I don't want to see Lindsay and Carl just talk it all on camera. Lindsay can smile and be pregnant and cute. That's great. I honestly could do without Carl entirely because I doubt he's done any self-work. I just really don't want to see either of them. And seeing this cast interacting without Lindsay and Carl feels so good and fresh and fun. It's kind of a bummer that Carl's coming the next day. Like, I just wish he wasn't on the show anymore. So sorry, Carl fans, but he's boring. He's just too boring for the show. He's got nothing else to go on. So he's probably going to latch on to like Lindsay's baby announcement for the whole summer and complain about it, you know, instead of healing himself and looking at himself in the mirror. Which he'll probably never do. None of these guys on these shows do. I just want to give Amanda her flowers for being the most low-key sweet girl's girl. She goes and offers Lexi to use the big bathroom to poop in, and I'm just like, that is so nice of her. Honestly, how could Hannah have ever defiled Amanda's bathroom that one summer? It feels so mean. Amanda's so nice, and she's a veteran, and she's reaching out to Lexi, a new member of the house, on the first night and saying, you should feel comfortable using my bathroom if you want to. And that means a lot because we've all been on that Airbnb trip where that couple goes and gets the master bathroom and then gets angry if anyone uses their bathroom. I was on an Airbnb trip once in the pandemic when that happened, and it was a little funny. You know, the kind of emotional outburst this one person had at the expense of someone else going and using their bathroom. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know. I think that's probably why they went and did it in the first place. They wanted to get under your skin. Gabby is being an amazing friend to Lindsay, corralling people in the living room, playing into this this presentation that Lindsay's planned, this big announcement. They all sit down, and the first thing I think of is like, of course, Lindsay wants to occupy the space before dinner. So you've got these poor chefs outside that were probably told, be ready to serve dinner at 7 or 7:30. And then they have to corral the cast. Half of them are 30 minutes late because they're getting camera ready for dinner for their first night. And then they sit in the living room. And then Lindsay is like, I just want to say a few words. And then it's a 40-minute presentation that dates back 8 years of her like timeline. It's a joke. It honestly was so forced. It was forced attention, and it was cringe. And I think she could have went about this like a different way. I think maybe like a cute reveal while they're eating or a surprise moment. But she really wanted to capitalize on the camera time and like make it this thing. And it's so obvious. And that's why like people don't, think Lindsay Hubbard is an authentic person. Because she does these like staged moments that don't feel like a friend talking to her friends. It feels like a business thing. Maybe whoever's wrangling Lindsay on the show, whoever her producer is, I mean, I'm sure at this point you can't suggest anything to her. She's got all of her own ideas, but I really would have pitched something different. Like maybe with dessert, there was a cupcake that had like a baby on it, or a piñata was hanging above the table of a baby, these are corny and bad ideas, but there's a better idea in there if you gave it like 10 minutes worth of thought. And I'm not even giving it 4 seconds worth of thought. And I still think my idea is better than the 40-minute 8 years ago discussion with the blown up ultrasound image. But I did think it was really sweet when Amanda was like so happy for Lindsay. And do I think she's really so happy for Lindsay? Or do I think that Amanda is seeing Lindsay achieve something that she's wanted for years now, and she's like just happy that someone in the group's having a baby? Yeah, the latter, I think. I think Amanda and Lindsay have grown and become closer friends over the last year or two, but I do think that the emotion that Amanda's expressing in this moment is coming from a place of like Amanda wanting to start her family. I think the biggest quote I want to take away from Lindsay's presentation about her baby announcement is, my journey has been nothing short of disastrous. Lindsay Hubbard, everybody. Then another line she uses, the universe has a plan. No, Lindsay, you have had a plan. 8 years ago, you had a timeline with Everett and you never veered from it. That's why you're pregnant now. And it's not the universe. This is you. This is Lindsay, not the universe. Do I say the universe like didn't, try to get you pregnant? No, I'm sure you not using protection when you sleep with anybody is what got you pregnant, We do find out about Lindsay's guy. I'm sure by now a lot of us have seen in the press or on social media information about him. I've kind of avoided it. I'm kind of burned out from anything Lindsay and Carl. So this was the first I heard of it. Her guy's name is Turner. He's a doctor with no social media. And actually 3 hours before recording this podcast today, I saw Lindsay put out a statement that they are still together, but they're figuring things out. And listen, new baby, I get it. That stuff is hard, even when partners have been together for years having a new baby. So I can't imagine navigating it with a new partner. I do think having the resources that they have at their access will help them get through it. And I don't know anything about Turner, but I'm sure he knew what he was getting into by partnering with Lindsay and deciding to do this with Lindsay. So I'm sure that he has a certain level of not just ambition, but drive. And I'm sure that's going to push them through raising this child and probably even, securing a second one for them. I could see Lindsay trying to get pregnant right away after the first one because she's got this timeline that we all know isn't going anywhere. I wonder what's going to happen after the babies come in the timeline. Is she just going to be too strapped down caring for the kids to have new goals? Or is she going to have a whole new timeline of buying a cruise ship company or something? I just, nothing would surprise me with her. And the fact that she never let go of this timeline thing is admirable. And maybe there's something about persistence we can learn from it. Or maybe there isn't. And maybe self-reflection should have been used at some point along the way. You decide. I want to take this moment just to remind us all that Jesse Solomon has no game. Even when we think he has game and he's doing a little flirting, just remember he has no game. He's hitting it off with Lexi. They're obviously into each other. And this guy is like every other guy, and he's racing to the finish line on the first night. And he's got no pacing, and he's just looking to get it in, and then he's going to get in trouble. And honestly, that's probably good for him, this being his second summer on the show. And last summer, he didn't really have that much drama going on. He probably needs a little drama this year. But I do think Lexi is such a catch that he should probably chill a little bit. Asking her if she's ditzy at the dinner table is wildly offensive. I think he's very unaware, I guess, of what flirting is like. She's clearly flirting and being gracious and fun with him right now because they just met. And he's like, would people call you ditzy? I mean, I would, that's an instant ick for me. So I think Lexi is really smart. I think we see that too, especially at the end of the episode. She is talking to Bailey about it in the kitchen, and it clearly rubbed her the wrong way. So I think Jesse's going to have a lot of backpedaling to do there, a lot more to earn back. Fortunately, Lexi is a new cast member and she's looking for camera time, so I think that might work in his favor. Plus, he's over a certain height, and these girls, they just can't resist a man over 6'2". I mean, they can do no wrong. Now that we've covered that Jesse Solomon has no game, I think now we have to address the other guy that has no game and nothing to really provide the show anymore, and that's Carl. Carl's coming the next day. We see him arriving, and he's just so emotionally unstable. He comes a day late. He is standing on the front porch and talking to producers, unable to enter because he's so stressed out about the Lindsay Hubbard of it all. He has gotten tons and tons of texts from people who are clearly trying to be kind and give him a heads up about the news that she broke. And I'm sure they're posting it and stuff, which is kind of a nice soft launch for Carl coming into the house. I mean, I'm sure it would suck for him to just show up and have no idea. Do I think Kyle would ever let that happen? No. I think Kyle was the first to shoot him a heads up. While the presentation's going on, Kyle's over there texting. And I'm sure that's why they didn't even show Kyle's reaction on camera during Lindsay's thing, which I was looking for. I don't think Kyle got any edit time on that. So Carl can't handle his shit. He can't handle his own feelings. He's on the porch. Producers are having to coax him inside. And then he goes in, and then he's in the doorway, and he has to go hide in his room, hide in the bathroom, build up his confidence. No one feels bad for you, Carl. You made this decision. You ended things with Lindsay on camera, okay? And now you're choosing to be on the show, return and be on camera. So don't give me this, oh, poor me, I can't go out and face everybody. The woman I loved is now pregnant and she's moved on so quickly, it hurts me. No one feels bad. Honestly, I don't want to see him talk, and I don't really want to see him on camera. I'm not necessarily team Lindsay here, but Carl's boring. And it's not the fact that he's even sober. He's just so buried in his own feelings that he can't process and can't work through that he cripples himself and doesn't offer any entertainment at all. And I'm just really hoping that this whole season isn't about them again, because I don't think I can handle it. And I'm really hoping that these new cast members pull it out. There was a lot that they showed for coming up this season. I don't even want to jump into it because I'm just excited to see this season of Summer House and what went down. And especially not after having a Winter House this year. I mean, I do hope they come back with a whole fresh cast for Winter House. That'd be really exciting. But it's nice to have Summer House back. I hope we have 1 million episodes of it, because I'm really looking forward to seeing where this all goes. And we do get some sneak peek images of the Craig and Paige breakup. So I'm really excited about that. Let's move on to Traitors. we left off last week, we've got the Traitors starting in the turret, and it is a stalemate between Rob, Danielle, and Carolyn. And Danielle's hair, it just looks terrible. I'm sure it's like the humidity of Scotland. Maybe there's a lot of moisture in the air at this time of year and it's just not reacting well. But like someone help her, because it just looks like she's been on the sea, the salty sea, for weeks, and it's frizzy and it's a mess. And that mixed with her stress about how she's going to deal with every elimination and if they're going to get Rob out or not get Rob out is driving me crazy. So someone needs to help her and help her hair. Rob doesn't want to say who got a shield in his group, and then says that this group doesn't have any trust as his like reason for not sharing that information. And I think that's good. He's using what he has to leverage discussion and trying to bring cohesion to the group. Do I think Rob is constantly like strong-arming and trying to decide who to pick off next? Yes, but also he's the biggest target in their group. So if they're taking their Traitors oath seriously, you know, they should be working together, and that's what he thinks, but also that's the most advantageous thing for him. Carolyn and Danielle don't always agree, especially Danielle, because Rob keeps targeting all of her allies. First it was Bob, the drag queen, then it was Derek, who, I mean, wasn't a big ally of Danielle's, but I think like the Big Brother people, the Survivor people, they all have like a kind of a low-key deal where like, yeah, I'm going to go after you last because we're from the same show. We're alumni. And then Britney, we see later in the episode, he's constantly going for people that are with Danielle. So I'm sure it's obvious that like he's not really trying to work with Danielle here. But I don't think Rob is really switched on to how much Carolyn reads into that, and how even though Rob doesn't have his focus set on Carolyn right now, Carolyn's never going to trust that Rob really wants to work with her either. So the three of them are standing there in the turret and they cannot decide who they're going to axe out of all the faithfuls. Rob wants to go for Derek. Danielle says no. And then Danielle gives a really bad reason for why, like Derek's going to suspect me. And then Rob bites back with a great point. He's like, no one thinks you're a traitor. And I think that anyone that's watching the show and that might be on it next season should remember some of the ways he bites back, because he's right. That's a great point. And that shuts her down. She can't come back with anything. And they all look exhausted and they look drained and they just want to get out of there, but they cannot agree on who they're going to cut. So they fight for a while, and then eventually Rob's like, well, I want to cut Derek. And then we jump to breakfast and we have no idea who they cut. And I was like, oh, please don't cut Dylan. Please don't cut Tom. Because literally these two are keeping the show interesting for me. And you know that since last week I made my declaration, I'm rooting for Tom to get to the final. Do I think he's going to win? Do I want him to win? No, I think I want a traitor to win. But I think it'd be so funny to see Tom Sandoval standing there, the only faithful, with a bunch of traitors all fighting each other in the finale. I thought it was so funny that Britney said that Ivar is useless, because we all know I agree. Last week I was talking about how much I think Ivar is the worst faithful in the group. And I think it's really funny that Gabby doesn't see Ivar at the table and is like, I thought Ivar was going to go last week. And then Ivar's like, well, I am here. And Britney was earlier calling him furniture. And it just all adds up. The guy's a useless bump on a log. Like, he's just there because he's British. And I really wish they brought someone in that had more fire to them, like a female British politician or somebody, maybe even a Scottish politician. Like, that would have been really cool. Every time they knock on the door for breakfast, when they come into the breakfast table, my dog Archie reacts to it and like will bark or grunt at it. So I thought I'd mention that because Archie's important and his hot take on Traitors is important too. So he gets, into who's arriving at breakfast. Danielle, again, is doing a really bad job being normal at breakfast. She walks in and looks exhausted. And then she's acting like someone died before we even know who's been axed from the table. If anyone's looking at Danielle in that room, her energy just doesn't add up. The narrative doesn't make sense. I would be on Danielle so quickly. She's doing a horrible job hiding this stuff. And I know they're up late and their production days are so long, and she's probably having a really hard time with that. But girl, like, have a second cup of coffee before you hit that table or something. Like, I'm sure you can get some under eye patches from production or something to help you out. But she's having a hard time hiding it. People keep trickling into the breakfast table, and boy, oh boy, I was happy to see Tom is back. I'm still rooting for him to go all the way. And I was kind of shocked about how Sam is still there. Now, I think I should take a moment and detour and mention that after we talk about Traitors today, I'm going to dabble a little bit into the Viall Files interview with Sam that just came out, I think, yesterday. I thought there was some really interesting things to highlight, but I don't think it's worth you listening to. So after we discuss Traitors, I will talk a little bit about that interview on that podcast. So I'm still shocked that Sam is there. The guy has maybe said 3 words the whole show, or at least that's what's made the edit. Here's my list of the most useless faithfuls: Ivar, Tom, Chrishell, Sierra, and Sam. These people have contributed like literally nothing. I think Sierra dipped a toe into contributing at the end of the last roundtable supporting Rob. But I really argue that these people haven't really contributed much, if anything at all. So we find out Derek is gone and Danielle is like hard crying at the table. It's weird because Derek is such a low-key, quiet little detective guy. He cannot be that big of a lost presence realistically. So it screams red flags. Even if Danielle did have a really tight alliance with Derek, you know, would she want to be crying so hard at the table? Wouldn't that make her other allies at the table feel like there's stuff about her that they don't know and maybe they're not that close to Danielle? That would pique my suspicion. I think that's a thought that like Britney could have, you know? Britney could be looking at Danielle and being like, wait, I thought, you know, I know Derek and I had some friction, but I thought like that you and I were closer than you and Derek were. But she's hard crying at the table. And I just wonder if her hormones are out of whack because of these late nights or like the stress of it all is getting to her. The fact that she keeps apologizing to Carolyn too, like in the turret, feels so insincere. A Survivor person isn't going to trust you again. And honestly, a Big Brother person should get that. Like come up with something else. Find mutual ground to work together. They should have, you know, she should have partnered with Carolyn for the challenge. She should be looking for any opportunity to buddy up with Carolyn and keep her close because maybe something will rub her the right way. And she really needs to be focusing on that because Carolyn can do some damage. Right now, no one suspects Carolyn, and Danielle knows that because no one's coming up to her and talking to her about Carolyn. She was the only one talking about Carolyn, and it got back to her fast, within 24 hours. So she shouldn't be worrying about anything else. She shouldn't be crying about Derek. She should be sitting next to Carolyn at the breakfast table. She should be partnering up with her in the challenge today. She should be with Carolyn at her hip at all times and supporting her, laughing at every joke Carolyn tells. I don't think it's going to work. I think Carolyn's smarter than that, but that's all you can do. That's the most you can do to try to salvage the relationship because she tried to make her move on the queen and like the bishop blocked her. You know, there were still too many pieces on the chessboard. It failed. Danielle blew her shot. She moved too early. And I think, you know, Rob got in her head. I'm so happy Dylan is still there. Dylan comes in. Honestly, the producers of Traitors better make sure Dylan Efron goes like all the way because he's so much better than Pilot Pete. And I hate that everyone keeps comparing him to Pilot Pete too because Pilot Pete was so self-righteous and it was so icky and gross and stupid. Dylan is so sweet and emotional and like he's not the smartest, but he's there and he's trying and he's so likable and he's so cute. So I want Dylan to go all the way, but also I don't because the longer he's on the show, the more of America is going to love him. And then how are we ever going to be together? You know, competing with a whole country of women throwing themselves at Dylan. That's hard. It's too hard for me. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I respect Tom so much. My friends that watch Vanderpump with me probably think I'm completely lost my mind. But listen, it's this reality TV. And I am the big advocate for we can't punish reality TV stars for doing morally corrupt things for that long a period of time because we love to watch them do morally corrupt things. They're on TV because they suck and make bad decisions. So am I coming back around on Tom Sandoval? Yeah, I am. I'm rooting for him in Traitors, and I'm going to keep saying it. And I respect him so much for doing something most of this cast can't do. He says to Rob's face, "There's some pretty solid evidence against you, dude." And that's when he's sitting across from Dylan and Rob. And I don't think anyone else in that house would be so bold. And I really commend Tom Sandoval for having the nuts to say that to his face. And he's also, hearing them out and considering it, but he's looking at all the evidence and he's like, I want to catch a traitor. And Rob, this stuff isn't adding up. And I still think you're a traitor. He says it's flat out. And I think it's awesome. So flowers to Tom. He loves a boys club, but he loves catching a traitor more. So here's the thing. Rob, you can't get all shifty with Tom. Tom is an emotional guy. If I were Rob and I wanted to sway Tom, I'm sure Rob doesn't really know Tom at the level we know Tom. But if I was on the show and I was in Rob's seat and I wanted to sway Tom into believing me, I would cry and I would be like, because Tom's emotional. And I'd be like, dude, I just don't know what to do. I feel like they've got me in a corner. And then I'd play into Tom's ego a bit and be like, what do I do? Seriously, I feel like they've checkmated me. I don't know why I'm off with the chess analogies today, but the Traitors feels like that sometimes. And so I would play into Tom's ego. I'd get super emotional because Tom has some kind of trigger where we call it crocodile tears sometimes, but dude gets emotional. Dude cries when he feels like he's not being heard or seen in the light he wants to be seen in. And I think at man to man, maybe he could get Tom to take a second consideration if he got emotional like that. I know it would work if Dylan did it to Tom. If Dylan pulled out any kind of emotional card on Tom, he could get Tom to do whatever he wants. Rob, it's a little bit harder, but I think, Rob's a game player, and I think Rob has it in his arsenal. Do I think he's going to use it? No. Have I seen him ever use an emotional card like that before? Not to that degree. But I believe Rob could stretch himself the more he gets on these shows. And I'd like to see him start to get a little bit more emotionally manipulative besides using sound logic every time. Because I hope he learned, flash forward to the end of this episode, spoiler alert, I'm giving you time to fast forward right now. Okay, you shouldn't be listening if you don't want spoilers. You can jump ahead to the next time code. I have it all logged there on the side of your podcast. Rob ends up kicking the can. So I hope he learned something from this Traitors and that he's got to pull in some new tricks in his bag for the next reality competition show he jumps on. That's really the only shot he has because Tom has his mind made up. Okay, the wedding looks. Tom and Dylan are a perfect pair. It's giving special forces. Danielle has never looked better this whole show. She should wrap her hair up every day. I love her in the crisp red. She looks so good. And of course, Britney has the poverty-esque headband thing going on. She's been doing it all season. And I love it. They kind of typecasted her in that way because they both kind of have the same little cynical, bold outlook on things. I think Britney's playing a little bit more reserved this season than Poverty was, but of course Alan Cummings looks inspired. The orchid chess piece is all he needed, honestly. He could have wore anything else with that orchid chess piece. And I know he likes playing with androgynous silhouettes, but he almost doesn't need the skirt thing that he's wearing. I know it's a wedding theme and that's cute. And I literally think they just decided to do that because of his outfit. I think they chose his outfit first or wanted to see him in some kind of bridal and then did that competition and just themed it as a wedding. Because otherwise, besides holding hands and the ring search thing, I think those were all added in the aftermath. I'm also hating the red and black suit jackets that all the men have. It's this weird damask print and I just think it's so icky and costumey and cheap looking. Sierra, though, looks amazing in everything she wears. But I do wish she got Chrishell's outfit because she would have looked so hot with that little heart choker and the red coat. Sierra would have looked like a bombshell in that thing. So I wish she got Chrishell's outfit. Out of all the outfits that I saw, I'd want Gabby's red and black felt coat. I thought that was really chic. And then I love her look later where she has the giant Birdo bow in her hair and the long gloves. So I love Gabby's look for myself the most. Carolyn's headdress looks as weird as she is. And I feel like there's a weird cultural appropriation from like Day of the Dead or something that's going on with it. I don't know. It doesn't feel like, I don't like it. Dolores looks insane. It's like they dyed some old bridal gown scarlet red and with a veil and the goggles. She looks insane. And I don't love it. And I feel bad for her because I think it's one of the weaker looks. The internet, though, is gushing over Rob coaching Sierra through the bugs in this challenge. Everyone is calling him daddy and loving that he is just like asking her questions, trying to keep her mind off it, saying, you know, how great she is and how she can get through it. And I think it definitely triggered like everybody's like Survivor Rob fetish from 20 years ago. So I think that's worth mentioning. Chrishell does give up instantly. I don't think they even started the bell and she quit. She's like, I make enough money on my show. I don't need bugs. The biggest team showdown I was most interested in was the Tom, Dylan, Ivar, Sam matchup because they all seemed like they could go the distance. Well, Tom clearly didn't like the bugs, but he did special forces pretty far in. So I know he could do a mind over matter challenge, especially if he's holding hands with Dylan, because I know he really wants to impress Dylan and be boys with Dylan. Like, that's obvious. But I was also surprised at how chill Sam and Ivar were being. Did I expect them to squeal and pull their hands out? No. But did I expect them to like, oops, accidentally, technicality, let go of hands too quickly because they low-key were uncomfortable by a snake or the bugs or whatever? Yes. So I was really interested in seeing them all go the distance. And I almost wish they kept like one-upping it instead of, you know, doing the ring showdown at the end. I hated that. I wish they brought in an alligator and like put gators on their feet or like just kept bringing in bigger creatures to make them more and more uncomfortable or make them, you know, hold an egg on a spoon in their mouth while they were doing all this. Just keep making it bigger and bigger. Don't time it out and then do a stupid sudden death. Well, let's fast forward to the round table. Rob has Sierra on his team. He also has Dylan and Dolores in his pocket going into the round table. I can see Sam is on the fence a little bit. Carolyn and Danielle are debating what their next move is. Clearly they do want to get Rob out, but I don't think they want to like go back into the turret and with the three of them and have betrayed each other. So I think they're just like really trying to gauge what people are going to do. Brittany and Tom still think that Rob is a traitor. Brittany's eye roll is so Brittany. If you watch Big Brother, it's like her coined move. I think she eye rolls more than she talks half the time. And I love her argument that this is going to keep happening over and over again. It's a great argument to use at the round table. If someone's being brought up twice and they're it's you versus them, it's Brittany versus Rob right now in this discussion, it's genius of her to be like, listen, you guys, you can talk about me. I know I'm a faithful, but we're still going to be having this discussion tomorrow night. Even if I'm gone, you're going to still be debating Rob tomorrow night. And it's going to go on every single night. Do you want to keep having this discussion? Let's just find out if he's a traitor now, because half of us, if not more than half of us, think he is a traitor. And that was like a great point to make. I think that you could make that even on the first night of debating somebody if enough people seem to be voicing a concern for somebody, but especially on night 2 or 3 of talking about Rob being a traitor. Like Brittany said it really well, and she didn't muddy the waters of discussion too much. She said, I'm a faithful. I know I'm a faithful. I don't judge you guys for like pointing your fingers in the wrong direction, but we're still going to be talking about Rob tomorrow night. So let's just find out tonight if he's a traitor. Genius. I am starting to get really frustrated with Chrishell. She keeps voting for Tom. And listen, okay, I'm biased. I want Tom. I don't care. Tom doesn't even care that Chrishell keeps voting for him. But Chrishell is being a useless faithful, and it's giving like Big Brother floater. She needs to actually start contributing to the conversations and like deciding what's going on instead of just like picking a third party. Tom votes for Rob, Brittany votes for Rob, Sierra votes for Brittany. We knew she was going to have Rob's back, especially after they like bonded in the challenge. Dylan votes for Gabby. Okay, what? And then he's like sad and saying he was in Rob's pocket at the end. I was a little confused about it. It was giving like confused model behavior. I thought Dylan was better than that. And I was kind of like bummed that he wasn't strong enough to like put in a vote against Rob, even though I know he knew Rob was a traitor? Did I think that we talk about like your angel traitor, that kind of oversees you and that you have in a pocket and that you kind of keep protected? Do I think he was doing that? Yeah. I think he wanted to keep Rob safe, but he didn't want to like annoy everybody else in the room. And I'm kind of bummed that people didn't really call him out on that. I think they saw it, but I don't know if they're smart enough to put it all together and be like, wait, Dylan is smarter and he's trying to manipulate us a little bit here by not voting out Rob. He's definitely trying to play both sides of the fence. And it's a good game move, but I see it. I see what he's doing. And I hope that others in the room do too. Carolyn votes for Rob. She makes her choice. Sam votes for Rob. Ivar votes for Rob. Rob votes for Britney. Danielle votes for Rob. Duh. He keeps coming for all her allies. It's not a surprise that Danielle is going to keep taking shots at Rob any chance she's got. And if she has to apologize and say, oh, we're going to start over every single night in the turret, great. She will. But Danielle, we're never going to trust you. Carolyn's never going to trust you. You shouldn't trust Carolyn. Carolyn's not going to trust you. I don't trust either of you. If I'm in the turret with the traitors, I'm not trusting either of them. I'd probably be working with Carolyn because I wouldn't be so erratic. And I think we'd be okay, but I'd still be really intimidated by Carolyn because she's so hard to read. Like, if she's not a professional poker player, I don't know. She should be. She should be a professional poker player. I want to know what producer's helping them with their little speeches at the end, because everybody's doing a really great job. When they're voted out and they go stand on their little platform, they give these little speeches that are so authentically them. But do I think they're all clever enough to write these little speeches that make them seem like they're one thing and then they have a big reveal to the room? No. But I don't think they're reading like cue cards, and I don't think they've memorized anything. Maybe they all are just smart, and maybe that's why choosing celebrities to do Traitors like brings in that drama. I think I saw an interview with Alan talking about the first season was half celebrities and half regular people, and why they decided just to go celebrities. And he said it's because, if they already come from another television property, they can bring that extra level of drama that the show needs, and that's kind of the style of the show, and it kind of matches what he brings as the host. And I do see it. So maybe that's why. Maybe these speeches are just really great because they're all reality TV people and they're used to giving like this little moment in the spotlight. Because Rob does a great job. Wes did a great job last week. Even Wes was eliminated. He did a great job. So Rob's a traitor. We knew it. Everyone's excited. The Faithfuls finally got their first traitor. I don't consider them getting Bob the Drag Queen a faithful win because Rob spearheaded all of that. This is the first time they've sniffed out a traitor, and I think it's exciting. I'm instantly like, oh my God, when are they going to recruit a new traitor? Because the thing about the traitors, it's like a Hydra head. Whenever you axe off the Hydra's head, it grows another one in its place or another two in its place. So I'm excited to see who they recruit. And I'm instantly like, my gears are spinning on like, who would Danielle and Carolyn recruit if they had the chance to recruit someone? We do have Alan coming in the room and announcing that tonight the traitors will be making the murder face to face. And I was like, oh my God, what if they did a murder and then they recruited a new traitor too, face to face? That would be awesome. Who would they pick? I'd pick Dylan. I think I'd pick Dylan. If you blindly trust someone's a faithful, I think there does come a certain point where you look at them twice and you're like, wait a minute, did you pull like the wool over my eyes here this whole time? And I think those moments do come in the second half of the game when you get closer to the end and you're trying to wonder who's been fleecing you the whole time. And when you get to the final, who are you going to share that money with and who are you going to eliminate? Big moment here. Dolores congratulates Tom. And Tom says he feels like he now has respect at the table. He is like, I can literally feel how proud he is. It's so funny. So Dolores congratulates him. Some of the other girls congratulate him leaving the room. And it's just like, it's like telling like a 10-year-old that caught his first like bug in a jar that he did a great job. He's thrilled. He's absolutely thrilled. And I absolutely believe like he's going to have some kind of power trip moment now next week where he's like, I caught Rob and now I think, Britney, you're a traitor, or like whoever else they decide to headhunt next. I can see Tom coming in big with his opinion and like thinking that everyone should trust and do what he says because he proved himself with the Rob thing. And it's going to be funny. I can't wait. I hope it's totally out of pocket left field, like Ivar. Maybe he'll go for Ivar or like Sam or something. That would really make me laugh. So we're back in the turret and Danielle goes again, I got you, to Carolyn. And Carolyn says, yeah, but not before Britney. And honestly, good for you, Carolyn. Danielle will stab you first. She already proved it and she blew it. Don't trust her. I knew Carolyn didn't trust her. Carolyn's never going to trust her. And the fact that Danielle just keeps saying like, I got you. I just got to keep telling you that I got you because I know I messed up. And when I get the opportunity to pay it back to you, I will. And it's just bullshit. I know Danielle's telling herself that she's going to do it, but she is just playing this game in total fear. And I don't think it's coming back around. I'm excited to see who they kill. I'm really hoping that they recruit somebody new as well to join the Traitors, because if they don't, that'll be next episode. Next episode, instead of a death, the Traitors will have to recruit. I think they always keep the number 3. Maybe they won't though. Maybe they'll spin it on its head so that in future seasons, people don't know how many Traitors there are. But historically, they always try to keep it at 3. So I kind of hope that they pick up somebody that we really don't expect. I think Danielle will try to bring in a Britney and try to like work with Britney and go to the final with Britney. I think Danielle could be pretty authentic to like wanting to share the prize pot with Britney. So I could see her getting her and being like, Big Brother's running the game. And listen, I love Big Brother. I love Big Brother. And we're totally going to follow Big Brother this summer because I love the live feeds. I love the show. I love making picks before like we even know who any of the people are on it, just judged off of like CBS's typecasting. I can't wait to see who the Traitors welcome to the turret. I think if Carolyn had to pick somebody, who would Carolyn pick? I know she really likes Gabby. I think Carolyn would probably advocate to bring Gabby in or Dylan in. And I think that, or Ivar, and they agree that like Ivar's the first traitor to go. I could see them maybe talking about a route where they bring in a new traitor that they could cut first, that they don't have as strong of an allegiance to because they're the most recent traitor to join. They don't deserve it as much as they do playing the whole game as traitors. So they could pick someone completely useless then at that point. If that's the case, I'm rooting for Tom. How hilarious would it be to have Tom being a traitor? But he'd be so annoying in the turret of them trying to discuss who they're going to kill. He'd probably have the worst ideas. Or maybe they're so like obscure and crazy, they'd be genius and throw off the scent of everything. I don't know. All right, next up, the Viall Files podcast had Sam on, a great transition point from Traitors to this podcast, had Sam on, and I listened to it because I don't think I've heard Sam say anything on Traitors. And so I don't really know anything about the guy beyond being Britney Spears' ex-husband. I think they covered that he's like not allowed to talk about her or whatever on the Traitors show. I don't know if like that's probably his rule so that he doesn't come off in a bad light because everyone's like Team Britney. So he made it this rule that no one could ask him about Britney on Traitors. But that wasn't confirmed in the podcast. But I will tell you the highlights here so you don't have to listen to it because it's pretty boring. So the biggest takeaway is that he says multiple times that he has no plans of becoming a reality TV whore. But he doesn't want to say the word whore, so he keeps spelling it, WHORE. And I think it's like really ironic because he is constantly saying that the industry, like at Hollywood and the entertainment industry, should respect music videos and commercials more because that's like all the work he comes from. They should respect it more because it's like, it's an art form and they do it in a fast window and blah, blah, blah. But then he turns around and shits on reality TV. Like he's better than reality TV and he's not. And keeps saying, oh, I have no plans to go on another reality TV show. I don't plan to be a reality TV HORE. So I thought that was like totally icky, especially because here we love reality TV. And if you're listening to this podcast still at this point, you also probably love reality TV, or you're just my friend and you're like listening to my podcast because you love me or you want to hate listen, which either way, the listen counts. And I appreciate your support. So I thought that was super icky of him. I went into the podcast though, like keeping an open mind. I will say that. And I did like him at the beginning because he talked a lot about his background being from Iran and actually thought like the environment he grew up in made him kind of a great partner for Britney, being comfortable in a relationship with somebody who had a conservatorship because he talks a lot about women and his sisters like being repressed in Iran. The special policing unit that walks around Iran will either, take women into custody if their hair is showing or if they're violating of too much skin or whatever rules that they feel like are being violated. So he talks a lot about that, and he talks about it in a light that makes me feel like he sympathizes for women that are under like men's control. And so I was like, oh, maybe he's not so bad. But that was just like the first 13 minutes of the podcast. He's super media trained. And he very much has an air of self-importance, which goes back to like the whole reinforcing that to Nick and his team that he's not going to be a reality TV whore. Whenever Nick asks him a question like about Britney or whatever, he somehow spins it around into a, very PC answer that has nothing to do with anything we want to hear. So again, like, I don't think the interview was very good. He didn't give us very much at all. He dodged most questions. And after listening to the podcast, I still don't know why their marriage didn't work. They didn't really touch upon any of that. He did say that they liked cooking and watching cartoons together. His idea of cooking is what he calls gourmeting something, which is like taking pre-made food and like adding extra seasoning to it. And then Nick kind of calls him out for like, that's not really cooking. And then he says that he cooked a lot of steaks for Britney. So he talks about like how he cooks a steak. Not impressed. I understand him like wanting to keep it about himself and not his ex. And I understand that like her team and her might be a little litigious if he speaks about her in any way. So maybe that's why he's dodging everything and he's so PR trained. But I was like disappointed that I didn't really get anything from the interview. I'll be honest. I was there to hear about his relationship with Britney Spears because I don't really know much about it. Maybe I could go Google it. Maybe it's all over the internet. I don't really want to do that. So I listened to the podcast. I was hoping that Nick and his team could get something out of him, but they failed. It wasn't good. So Sam is giving Ion vibes. Like he wants to have a hot take on his co-stars and like is commenting on things on Twitter. And Nick comments, Ion's doing that too. And I think they're just trying to like milk the limelight a little longer from the Traitors cycle. But he also doesn't know anything about them. Like I don't think Sam actually took any time to get to know the people he was on the show with. And I think that shows because there's no on-camera interactions with him and other people. He was just like the biggest floater, another Big Brother term, the term for someone who's just like coaxing by on the show because they're no real threat to anybody. He's just floating through Traitors. He has no relationships with anybody on the show. And then he goes on the Viall Files and he doesn't really have any like relationships to talk about that lasted from the show. He's on Twitter commenting about people and choices that are made on the show, or making fun of calling Tom Sandoval the sweaty one, like just referencing a meme. It's giving hypocritical because he doesn't want to be a reality TV whore, but he will sit on Twitter and comment about other people on reality TV from the reality TV show he was on. So like, sorry, sir, you are a reality TV whore. And he then goes on and talks about how he wants to be like a film producer, do all this stuff. And I'm like, great, like, go back to Iran and do it. Don't do it here. Honestly, being in LA, being a filmmaker, we don't need any more people like Sam coming in and producing movies. I'm sorry. The way he's criticizing my reality TV stars that I love, I don't want him around. If he can't see the beauty of character development and storytelling in unscripted television and how those shows are put together, he's not putting together good movies, you guys. He's not going to put together good TV shows for you because he's unable to interpret that information. And as somebody who writes movies and reads my friends' scripts and makes films, reality TV is the best example of character dialogue. I remember I was watching a scene on Big Brother and someone came and whispered in this guy's ear that was playing chess with somebody else that the person across the table from him was leading like a smear campaign against him. And he was this big muscle freak. And I watched his face like process all of it. And then I watched him have to swallow that information and keep playing the chess game instead of blow up on the person. And I just feel like watching some of these raw human interactions on reality TV, once they're in a state where they forget the cameras are there and they've been living with cameras forever, or if they're a couple seasons in and they're making a show, I just feel like it's still good shit. And I'm a big fan of it. And I know you guys are too. And so we hate Sam. Sam sucks. He sucks. That's pretty much it for the podcast. I don't think there's anything worth listening to on that episode of the Viall Files. And my summary of it is Sam should wish that he's a reality TV WHORE. Okay? Okay, so Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this week. Not a ton I really want to touch upon, except for this trip that Garcelle, Kyle, and Sutton go on to Georgia to meet Sutton's mother. I love it when we meet a mother. I think it's so telling, and especially to meet Sutton's mom. Sutton is a character that is just so like, and I feel like she's a little deranged sometimes. And she's feisty and she's complicated. And I just don't understand a lot of Sutton. So I was really excited to see her mom. And it's weird. Honestly, I was hoping that woman would have a little bit more Southern hospitality, but something's clearly happened to her that makes her like so unaffectionate and unwelcoming. I'm kind of surprised that Sutton didn't give the ladies like a better preamble, and maybe they just didn't show it on camera. But if I was taking someone to meet my mom and my mom acted like Sutton's mom, I would be mortified, especially to bring Garcelle, a person of color, in the house, because it's very weird that Sutton's mother greets Kyle with "Aren't you pretty?" and nothing about Garcelle. And then Garcelle gives her a gift and of the nice scarf, and she has the reaction that she has where it's like, she jokes about it being a sarong, doesn't really say thank you, isn't super appreciative and sweet or warm about it. It just seemed like, it just seemed like for Sutton to be someone who's like all about, oh, I'm from the South and I have manners. Her mother seems rude, so rude. And honestly, I was like, Sutton's paying for everything for this woman. Why is she so mean? Like, she's living on this beautiful estate that Sutton's paying for, and she's just so nasty, and it's really annoying. I did not enjoy meeting Sutton's mom, but it did paint a very true picture of why Sutton is the way she is. And I really hope that maybe Sutton watches this season and does some introspection. And I love that some of the ladies say, I can see how you can be like your mom sometimes. And I hope Sutton sees that and like gets into therapy right away and runs the opposite way, because it'd be devastating to end up like Sutton's mom. That woman, I don't think she's grateful for anything. She does no sparkle, no happiness in her life. And who's that poor boyfriend of hers or that friend of hers that she's always with? That stuff is weird. Like, is that her boyfriend? Who's this this random old man wouldn't be following her around if he wasn't her boyfriend, right? Or is he just bored? Is he driving her? What is it? What's happening? I don't know. Of course, they want to have a little scene where all the girls are jealous that they didn't get invited on the trip. But honestly, Erica, you would not want to be there. That mother would have triggered the shit out of you. And you hate those old Southern people. So it's a good thing you're not there. And Dorit, like, I don't know. I don't think anyone should have went on that trip. I think maybe she should have just brought Kyle. But I know her and Sutton and Garcelle are closer, so. And then I did see like some parallel themes, which will rope in Southern Charm a little bit. I do think down the road, I'll do like a thick, meaty, juicy Southern Charm recap, because I love the Southern shows. I saw a little tie-in with both Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Southern Charm in the theme of Italian food this week. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Everyone's eating Italian this week on Bravo, which is cool. Maybe Italian's back. I've heard that tequila is out, which I hate. I don't believe it. And that people are drinking vodka again. This is like LA cocktail culture, and I don't believe it. What happened to like, isn't gin or something going to have a moment? Maybe gin just recently had a moment. It wasn't big enough though. To go back to vodka, that doesn't feel right. Anyway, that's everything for this week. If I missed out on anything and you had any questions or thoughts, you can hit me up on Instagram at filmmaker or TikTok. You can find new episodes weekly of Meet My Friends, the podcast, and Bravoholics Anonymous, which is a side segment of our main podcast with me, Lindsay. And our meeting is adjourned. Until next time, keep your champagne cold and your taglines iconic.